Good morning.
Morning, how you doing?
Getting my life together. Trying. I I feel like, I say this all the time, and I think it just gets worse each time, but I feel like this is probably one of the most busiest, craziest times in my life. And so I'm like getting through it here.
That's,
Last,
I'll tell you, it's different drinking that plant-based.
yeah. Are
Just
you,
what's that?
what do you notice that's different?
Well, I just the texture is a little bit different. I don't really notice anything as a whole. But I'm still as not. I'm still feeling full, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. When I started doing the whole blend plant-based shakes, uh that was what I had in the house. And so Brad had what I had in the house. And so he's been doing the plant-based for a long time, and he's not full plant-based or anything like that. But with the 7-day boxes, they come with the whey. And so I'm like, can you use these up? Because I won't do the whey shakes. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And he notices a difference in his body now because he's so
Hmm.
accustomed to the plant-based ones. And so it's really just primarily gas. But
Yeah,
we laugh about it, but like that is the difference that his gut microbiome has accustomed to with the plant-based. Our bodies just change. And I froze.
exactly. Yeah, just I was talking to, who was it, Soraya, and she was like, it's too sweet for me, the chai one.
Oh, yeah. If you don't like the spice from chai, then the vanilla can be a little bit um tough for some people because it's
Yeah,
not like regular vanilla. Like if you add fruit to vanilla or anything else, it kind of changes and makes it more if you're not a big vanilla fan. But the chai can kind of throw some people off with
yeah.
adding in like fruit or other things like that. But I think it's a really nice soft chai. I don't feel like it's an overpowering, like really sweet.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I do. I think, well, so we're almost completely out. Well, we are completely out now of our shakes and our bars. The only thing we have left is whey shakes. So like you last weekend, Noah, I'm out for a couple of days and I'm like, no. And
Yeah,
so but we have an Body challenge, and so we'll be ordering some more shakes here. Gabby, feel like I haven't seen you forever.
hey
Um,
Gabby.
Hi,
So
you
I went to
guys.
this. So I went to this networking event last night. Right,
hmm.
I ran into a life coach, so she was very interested. I got home and I had a friend request from her on Facebook already. So we're gonna get together this week.
Life coaches are great. I have a lot of friends that are in different areas of coaching, and
Yeah,
great people to know. The when getting to know life coaches, they always have like a niche. They're like, oh, I like to coach women in business, or I like to coach this and that.
yeah,
But ultimately, like similar to us, we can help everybody. Life coaches want to help everybody. So it's always just like protect yourself if you're like not in the market for one, and just be open with them and say, who can I connect you with?
exactly.
Is how I feel with like life coaches. But Gabby, how was Cabo? Pictures looked gorgeous.
Yeah,
It was so good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, it was different. I don't know that we'd go back, to be honest with you. It's so busy, and when I go on vacation, I just want to go like beach, pool, maybe work out. But everyone was so nice. Like culturally, it was so crazy how different they were and how hard everyone worked, from like kids selling stuff on the street to like the older 60-year-old guys all just still hustling. And I'm like, man, we are some like privileged people here in America. I just like, our work ethic is nothing compared to other countries. So it was really good to see that and just like have that perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we were only in the port part of Cabo for our cruise, but on our cruise, I got to talking to a few of the crew for the cruise, and they're from all over the world. There are people from, South Africa, there are people from Philippines, all this stuff. So we got to know a few of them, and they literally do contracts with the cruise for like 9 months with almost no breaks. So they're cruising, constantly doing their job, and they send their money back home to support their family. So basically their one job to, build, to make money on this cruise supports like their extended family back home. And it's pennies to us. Like the amount of money that they get paid per hour is so low. So me and Brad always try to tip them, and it's, for them to give them like $30 or something. And so it's really interesting when you start to look at the rest of the world, and like it just puts things into massive perspective. And and Cabo was so interesting, at least the port part. We wanted to be able to explore more. We didn't get out further, but that's where Miles got to play with a lizard. And they just have like lizards. They're just like standing in the street, like, pet my lizard, take a picture for $5. And we're like, hey, that's hustle. Make money. Hashtag make money, like go catch a lizard in your backyard. And
yeah, it was amazing. And like total sales, like I told Alex, I'm like, we should write it off. Like what I'm learning about, even when we said no, they would be like, what about hair braiding? Like, what about a bracelet? What about a blanket? Like, and then even when they left, we just kept saying no, because we couldn't say yes to everything, of course. But they just said, okay, thanks, have a good day, in English, but they said it in Spanish essentially. But they had a good attitude. They didn't let it knock them down. Whereas for us, we would do a reach out and they say no. And we're like, I'm done with my company. And I know this isn't a work call, but it's so good. Or even in any areas of life, maybe you're dating and someone says no, and you just let it ruin you or take it personally. And it's like, no, we can't do that. And then the other thing I wanted to say too is just like, it's so crazy how we were talking to our driver, and like, no matter how hard he works, and he works like 60, 70, 80 hours a week, literally from sun up to sundown, like they'll never be able to afford to vacation where we vacationed. And like we use rewards points. I feel, we didn't even pay for it, but it's just so crazy to me that it's their culture. It's so beautiful. And we go there to see it, and they're never able to like celebrate it in that way. So it was just, like you said, really good perspective on even our like $30 to us that we might just throw away. Like, so financially, it really changed my perspective on how I'm spending money. They would like scrap for that money, and here I'm just like, oh, take me, just little things like those extra coffees and extra things like that. So it's really life changing and like perspective changing for sure.
It's like, it sounds kind of weird, but it makes sense to my dad. So my dad is a big world traveler. And when he went to, I can't remember if it was Thailand or Hong Kong, he got to know his driver really, really well. And he was like, in one of those carts where like, they literally, like bicycle you around in a cart, which is really common in Asia. And he has been like pen pals with this, young kid, because he was like, hustling at 16 or something like that. And so we've gotten to know him, and it's been like 10 years. And he's, sent him like gifts. Like my dad has, like, hey, he had his first kid, he sent him a gift, like things like that. And, as the daughter, sometimes I'm just like, where's my gift, Dad? But I'm like, I'm so glad that he's able to like support, I joke with that, but I'm so glad that he's able to support somebody, because we don't often get to know people when we're traveling well enough to be like, give me your address, like let's be Facebook friends, like. But think of how great that would be, like, of having that kind of fairy god parent somewhere across the sea in this magical United States. And we certainly have a lot of our own issues here, but just being able to bless like one family, and we have this great vehicle and this great tool, but like for a lot of people, that's it's not, they can just automatically do. So it's like, when you go on these trips and stuff, it's, as much as you're like, I want to help you, sometimes it's just not feasible for them to start off the bat, but wouldn't it be great if we could just recruit all those hustlers and be like,
yes, I know, the same thing. And I was like, maybe because we have a Cabo guy now, and he was amazing. He built trust right away, the way that he did it. We were looking at wine, because I'm kind of done with just hard alcohol. It's so bad for your body, but wine would be fun. It's still sparkly. You can have a cup or two and like whatever. Just built this amazing relationship with him. But one thing I want to say too really quick is and maybe Sadie, you'll be able to talk about this a little bit, but I was trying to cut some costs on our elixir. So I was finding some other like stress relief things. And I found a different brand that I tried on our trips. I ran out, so I needed something, right? And long story short, I go in to donate plasma yesterday, and I had taken 2 on my drive down, because the kids were being crazy, just like I'd normally take an elixir. I'm all out of adaptogen elixirs, but my auto ship goes out tomorrow. So I'm like, I can make it a couple days. Adaptogen elixirs are like the one product we love them so much. but I'm trying this other thing. Long story short, I go and I've always had perfect blood pressure. My blood pressure was too low to donate. And I was like, WTF, what in the world? And so then I asked one of my nurse friends about it, and I showed her a picture. I'm like, there must have been something in here, because otherwise I just ate eggs and sausage. Like, I've never had issues, right? And she said it's GABA's ingredients. It lowers blood pressure. So I just love how I was thinking about the Brain Boost and Renewal, and how they took the Brain Boost off, not because it had any negative effects to anyone, but because it had a negative effect to the blood pressure medication. So it wasn't perfect. And they took it off and, essentially replaced it with this. But it's like, that's the integrity. When you take our Isagenix products, you don't have to worry about it messing with your blood pressure or any negative effects. It totally just heals your body. So it was really like good for me to kind of go off and do this little like experiment like thing and just see the other stuff out there, because we know that our products are the best quality on the market and the most effective, and just absolutely amazing. So I'm so grateful for our products.
It's a good, if you can word it. I actually just got an email from Isagenix compliance that was like, hey, you can't say that. So I had to go and edit a post that I did like November of 21. And so I'm like,
gosh.
time ago. Or yeah, I think it was November 21. Maybe it was after, but it was a long time ago. And so compliance, watches what we say, but like you could say something along the lines of like, when you know what works and you're happy and it's like the best product, it might be, a little bit, and I wouldn't, say price range or anything, but like, sometimes it might be a little bit tricky to have accessible constantly. So if you try something else and then you are reminded why you go back to the original one, just like talking in big broad strokes about general, because I've done that too. I've gone off and bought other adaptogens before. I bought like this whole it wasn't mud water, but it was this like coffee alternative that has like a whole bunch of different mushrooms, like 9 different blends and all this stuff. And I didn't notice a dang difference. And I mean, I've done other things that we don't necessarily have in Isagenix. And like, sometimes, I convince myself and I'm like, oh, maybe I just need to use it for a couple of months or whatever. But like, I just don't notice anything. But if I stop, and a good example, I stopped my Ionics for a little while because I was just like, okay, where can I cut back on cost? Because I literally spent a ridiculous amount of money on Isagenix products, but they're all freaking needed. I'm like dying for Isabody Challenge coupons right now. We just got one last week and another one this week for Brad's. And so I'm like, dang it. And then I needed to up our blend, our shakes and stuff, because like we're completely out now. And so I'm like, okay, well, clearly we're not getting enough because we are obsessed here. And so, anyway, like they're not always stack up, like we have to know what's good and keep using it. And when I was without the Ionics, it was when I was on a spring break trip up to Seattle, and I was just grumpy. And I was like, there's no reason why I should be grumpy on this trip. And I felt so bad because I was up there visiting Molly and I was just like short, and I was like, I need my coffee. Like I kept, going for that, like coffee's going to fix me. And of course that didn't. And it's Seattle. So it was literally the best coffee I've ever had in my entire life. But like, I mean, I had to wait until like 10:30 to get coffee some morning. So I was like literally, and I had no Ionics. I had no adaptogen elixir. I had no Bia. Like I had nothing. And so I was like, I will never, ever go without that. But I haven't been ordering the adaptogen elixir. I've had them sparingly. And right now I only have 7 left in one of my unopened 7 days. And so I'm like, I think I need it because my grand opening for my clinic is next week. And I just telling this call, I'm like, I don't think I've ever felt busier and more crazed in my life than I do right now. And I feel like I say that a lot, but it just keeps getting worse. Just keeps being true. So I'm like, I legit am just so overwhelmed and overworked and like just waiting for a lot of crazy stuff. So I think this was good for us to like talk through all this stuff, because it helped kind of move through the leader spotlight in the way that like, instead of just sharing a story, we're talking things through, and I think that's, we need to do that too. Like, we don't always need to have somebody like sharing a story. So thank you for bringing up all those great points and talking points, Gabby. So, but we are talking about healthy meals today. And so, if you are not ordering, if you're not a customer or anything and you're watching this replay, we have shakes. we're a shake company. That's what we started out as. Like everybody knows us as the 9-day system that involved shakes. But we've heard it all. Every single one of us here have heard, I don't want to drink my meal. Shakes aren't enough. There's not enough calories. Oh, look, there's, this much sugar, this much fat, this much. They're going to pick it apart. They're going to look at all the ingredients and everything. But the fact of the matter is, like, our shakes in itself are evidence-based. They have peer-reviewed journal scientific research done to show that our shakes are exactly what our body needs. They're the perfect amount, and everybody's different. And I always tell people, like, if you are not feeling satisfied after the shakes, after a couple days, because your body needs to settle, you can always add a little bit more of fiber. So you can either do Fiber Pro, you could add a little bit of oatmeal, a little bit of chia seed, flax seed, anything you need. I have chia seed in mine today. And so yeah, Noah adds a plethora of different things too. I've got him onto the different made omegas, but talking about other meals, like if somebody is not in our system, like how do you get good, healthy meals? Now, you can cater and build an amazing meal on your own. A lot of people don't have the time, they don't have the money, they don't have, the knowledge on how to build a perfect breakfast bowl or a perfect, dinner with all of the right amount of whole grains, the right amount of protein, the right amount of vegetables and things like that. It does take a lot of work. I have been the one to obsessively count every single calorie and macro and nutrient in my life. And I'm working through a little bit of it now again, because I felt like I was getting off the rails, and the cruise had a little something to do with that. But, I just needed to make sure, am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough fiber? Am I staying low on my sugars? Like, what is going on? And if you don't ever track it, you don't know. But there are a lot of ways to kind of cheat the system a little bit. And so, Noah, I'm going to pass it over to you, because I want you to talk about the meals that you've been ordering and some of the ways that you've been able to find, because you've done 2 shakes a day for a while now. So
long time. And yeah, well, I was using Pop Factor, and I've kind of gone off there because it was too many had too many carbs with our shakes and everything else. But I've just gone back to making my dinner. But as far as shakes, I mean, you can be creative. I mean, I use hemp hearts, I use chia seeds, flaxseed powder. There's so many different things you can add, and then we have other ingredients that we can add from our line as well. But the shakes are just second to none. It's just like, I was just looking at my breakfast is 694 calories for that, because of what I've added in there.
Right.
So there's just so many different ways that you can do it. If you don't feel like there's enough calories, or you figure it's too much sugar or anything else, it depends on what program you are. You're going to burn it off. It's not too. They've done the research, and it really makes sense. The amount of calories and everything else, and scientifically based, like Cindy was talking about.
Absolutely. And there's, for the people that love our shakes and they're doing them for, breakfast and lunch, and they, want to have something easy for dinner. Cause, I've actually signed up a lot of lawyers, and, they are so busy, they love the auto ship, because then they don't have to sit there and worry about it. But, some of them have, they live at their desk. And so to have everything pretty much here, works for them. And so for dinners, they're always like, what do I do for dinner? What can I do? So I'm putting this in the comments. There's a couple of meal services that I know of, just off the top of my head. Everybody's seen the commercials for HelloFresh and all these other things, Blue Apron. But this is a link that I found that has 40 different, I put Thrive, but I actually meant Thistle. 40 different companies.
Boy, there's that many.
There's so many more. I mean, there's a lot of local ones that you have to find, local.
Yeah, I know a lot of local ones, but I just don't know how they are as far as going keto, or depends on what services you're going for. Because I'm going more towards the keto side at this point, and I've been having a lot of great success with it. So that's.
We did, we did the keto topic a couple of weeks back, and then Noah and I had a meeting afterwards, and we were talking about his goals and everything. And we looked up how to do the isogenic shakes with keto for him in his goals and everything right now. And so, when you search through each one of these, like on this website, it has like, here's 30 of the traditional ones. Then they have kids meals kits. There's smoothie centered meal kits. There's meat, vegan meat, poultry, and seafood delivery kits. So like you can customize through these that work for you. Now, the biggest thing is making sure that this, is cost effective for your family and that it makes sense. Almost all of these services are very specific where you can like X out certain ingredients that like, I'm allergic to avocado, I can't do, this or that. And you can make your way around it. And so this is a great way for people to have those healthy meals. You can look at the nutrients. You can make sure that you're focusing on the nutrient that's most important to you. And if you're somebody that's like, I don't know how to read a nutrition label, first of all, I can help you with that. I have classes on it. But if you're like, there's no way I could figure out how to do all of these things. My suggestion is to pick one nutrient that is really important to you. And you come up with that based off of what you've got going on. If it may be protein, it may be watching your fat, it may be, so your sugars, it's going to depend on your medical history. It's going to depend on your personal goals. But if you're like, I'm going to focus on sugar, you can do the calculations to find out like what is that magic number to stay under and just focus on your sugar intake. If you're somebody that wants to lower your cholesterol, focus on your fat intake. If you're somebody who wants to focus on lean muscle mass, focus on your protein, but pick one and go with that. So as you're selecting these meals, like you can make sure that you're hitting that one nutrient that is most important to you. And once you're ready, then you can move on to the second one or the third one, like fiber. I'm obsessed with fiber, if you didn't know. And so you can go through and find what works for you. And so when it comes to people that are on some sort of health journey that need an easy meal, this is an option. But I also highly recommend getting our shakes in. And you can make our shakes into, smoothie bowls. You can make them into banana bread. You can make them into no-bake cookies, like all kinds of stuff, protein donuts, like whatever you want. Like we've got these options so that you don't have to just drink your meals all day. Now, it is so convenient, easy for me. Like I don't want to actually sit down and eat a meal anymore, especially because the mornings I'm dropping off kids, doing all these other things. But we are going to talk a brief minute here about the actual whole blend shake itself. And with Isagenix, we have multiple different types of shakes, and whole blend is one of our newest ones. And this came about because we wanted to make sure that we're capturing more vitamins. If you look at a lot of the shakes out there, especially meal replacement shakes, there's actually a very low absorption rate as a whole. And ours are clinically proven to have a much higher rate. And now I've heard a couple of different numbers, so I'm not going to quote it. I'm just going to say that we have a higher absorption rate. And that means that the vitamins that are in the shake kept the integrity from the process of pulling it from the fruit and vegetable and putting it into our shake. It's kept the integrity of the protein. We use the undenatured whey grass-fed meat, which are dairy, grass-fed cows, dairy, milk. And if you are not a dairy person, we have our plant-based. We do have isoline shakes, which are a little bit different, still great. Some people like that taste better. Some people like the whole blend taste better. We have some higher protein shakes as well, but really there is no better meal replacement shake on the market, and I'm confident of that. And so
let me add one thing to that is there's a lot of companies that say they're meal replacement shakes, but when you look at the calorie content and the carbs, fats, and they really don't have the proper amount to claim to be called a meal replacement. They're only about 150 calories, which is not nearly even enough.
No. Does anybody else have any like how you feel about the shakes? Like which ones do you guys like? Which ones have you tried? I know Gabby's done the higher protein one before. And
hey, you guys. Yes. So I have used all of our shakes in different areas. Like over my 8 years of being a customer, I've used them all differently. And that's something that I love is they have the different options. But what stayed consistent is I pretty much always do 2 a day. I haven't gone a day without having one for sure. It's just a no-brainer. Like what else are you eating? You're not getting in all of the nutrition. And we'll post in our group too. There's a little flyer that says, you know, it's as much zinc as this food, as eating this much spinach and all this stuff. And I just love that visual because it's like, there's truly no meal that you could create that's going to be this nutrient dense. So I love our shakes, especially on the go, the ones that have packets. But right now what I do, because I have to hit 160 grams of protein a day, and that's really hard for me, especially I don't like eating a lot of heavy foods throughout the morning and the afternoon. So I save like my 8 ounces or my 10 ounces of ground beef or shredded chicken for our evening knife and fork meal. And then throughout the day, I'm usually having our 2 shakes and protein bars. So right now what I'm doing is 1 scoop of the whole blend or the Isoline Pro or whatever shake with a scoop of the Tri-Release. So I love the Tri-Release. It's not vegan friendly, so it works for me if you don't have restrictions that way. But it helps me very quickly and easily get that protein content up. Otherwise, when you look at needing the 40 to 50 grams of protein a day, like the top absorption amount, it's really hard to get in just eating whole foods throughout the day. You'd be just literally cooking and eating all day long. It's insane. So, and another thing to note too is even though our like the grams of protein, like if you're someone like me where I'm a firefighter, I work out, I'm gaining lean muscle, it's a huge priority of mine. It's the branched chain amino acids within and the amino acid complex within the shakes, you guys, that makes it so powerful. And going back to that absorption, some people are like, well, why can't I just do a cheap 50-gram organic shake? And it's like that's literally just hurting your liver and kidneys and then going through your body. You're not actually absorbing it. You're better off absorbing the 24 grams of undenatured whey protein from the whole blend shakes versus maybe a couple, you know, from those other ones. So that's where the quality really comes in and being able to trust the company and the products that we have.
I love that. So I brought up our chart here that we send to people to help make their best choice when it comes to them, you know, and what they're specifically looking for, whether it's the protein content, you know, if it's a post-workout, literally everything can be used as a post-workout, which I think is super fun. But we've got what's kind of a snack here, you know, and for people who are looking to gain muscle mass, like, I mean, you can have like any of these as just an additional snack or throughout the day, as long as you're, like Gabby said, like spreading it out. Like you don't want to sit here and have like, I'm going to have all of my protein at 9 a.m. like for the entire day. Like that's not healthy. You know, it's the same thing. Like you don't want to take like all of your vitamin C like for the entire day. Like you kind of want to spread it out. You want to do different things or whatever, which is why a lot of our Isagenix products are kind of like versatile in that way. Like you don't have to take the Ionics in the morning. You don't have to take your collagen in the morning, things like that. And by the way, our collagen has 5 grams of protein too. So if you're ever like in your macros and you're just like, I need a few more proteins and carbs, but I've had enough fat, just have a second collagen if you haven't had yours yet. So that is our product of the day. And then just before we kind of move on to like the closing remarks, I want to bring up that we are having an opportunity meeting on Thursday night. We're going through a quick little slideshow that just kind of talks about everything that we do, the parts about getting paid and things like that. And so no pressure. This is just if you're curious, if you want to be on it. This is exact same Zoom information to get onto this call. If it's not something that you're interested, don't worry about it, but we are going to start having these on the regular. And so if you're ever at a point where you're like, not right now, you know, in a couple months when I can get past this big thing, you know, this and that, just know that these are recorded and available and there's never any pressure whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here. And I really, you know, I feel like I talk about this as an assignment a lot, but I want you to kind of pick your nutrient when it comes to the meals that's most important to you and really pay attention to what you're getting. If you're somebody who's been doing, you know, the lean cuisine or, you know, any of those freezer meals in the store, I want you to take a look at the sodium. I want you to take a look at like all the preservatives in there. I want you to take a look at the reviews and things like that and consider going with something a little bit more fresh. Consider going with something that has more catered capability and stuff. And if you're buying those because that's all that your budget can handle, just remember that, you know, all of us are here, more than happy to help you work through any sort of a budget. and find some healthier options that do fit within your requests and needs. So that's kind of the assignment for the day, but really the vision is just to help people get healthy and, you know, do it in this community setting. We are here for anybody to come on in and learn and educate, and we love to empower, and community is so important to us. So whether you ever order from us or ever join our community or join our business or anything like that, we want you in this community because we just genuinely care about people. And so thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna stop the recording.